everybody, and welcome to my build video for the Sorcerer Tank. There's a few people who have been asking about the Sorcerer Tank, and here it is. I'm gonna start by saying that my tank is a Nord. I think that Nord is best for tanks, but this one could work well with Imperial, Breton, or even Redguard. So these are the stats unbuffed. I do have food on, and I am wearing Ebon, and I have the Tower Mundstone. So I'm just gonna quickly go over the gear that I'm wearing first. I'm currently wearing Noble's Conquest, which is a set that I find pretty beneficial in Vetma of Lorcage because I do interrupt a lot, and it gives an 8% increase damage bonus to the DPS, which stacks with like Ether and other debuffs. And the other passives are also nice for tanking. So this is the set that I'm currently wearing when you saw my stats. I'm also wearing Ebon, 5 pieces, and I have on 2 jewelry pieces of Endurance for the health bonus. But this is a bit like it's not necessary. You can play around with your jewelry or gear, but this is just what I have on at the moment. For the ideally you want infused on the head, the chest, as well as the legs. My legs are not infused, they are divines, so it's not ideal. And you also preferably have sturdy on the small pieces, such as waist and hands. But yeah, my Ebon pieces aren't like ideal trait, but it's fine. I also have infused on the shield, and I have tri-stat glyphs on everything. My weapons have this absorb stamina enchantment that gives me stamina back, and for the jewelry I have 2 shield play enchantment, which reduce the cost of reduction, and I have 1 reduced cost of blocking, not reduction, and I have 1 reduced magical cost of spells. So that's it for my current gear and enchants. Stamina back. So that's for the gear with this current setup. You can use Alkosh, which I wear also sometimes, if I'm gonna be main tanking, and if the healers throw a lot of synergies. If you're in a group where you barely get any synergies, it's a bit of a waste on a tank, and I think that Noble's Conquest is gonna give you more bonuses to your DPS because you can interrupt a lot if you're taking a lot of aggro. So it depends on your group. Alkosh can be good. Definitely most people would say wear Alkosh, but I say don't overlook Noble's Conquest. For the glyphs on the jewelry, I use 2 shield play, and I use 1 reduce magic cost of spells. The reason why it will become clear once I go over my skills. So this is the typical setup that I have when I'm tanking Vetma of Lorcage or any other trial, really. So always my favorite, absorb magic. Just even for the mitigation and the block cost reduction. It's good to have it on your main bar. And it's a good self-heal from spell damage. The other that I have, next skill, this one, I have it on both bars because it's toggled. So basically, okay, it's not letting me switch bars, but basically, this one is good because you get minor resolve and it increases your max stam. So when you would see it, my stats where the physical resistance was a bit lower, once I turn it on, it gets about even with the spell resist. So, and I get more stamina. So now you can just show you again, was at 25. And with this, I'm at almost 27k stamp. So that's nice. Right now I got the Tower Munderstone, but if you find that you need more magicka, you can go with the Magicka Munderstone. If you're wearing Alkosh and you find you need more health, you can go with the Lord, which gives you more health. So you can play around with your Munderstones depending on your gear. Same thing with your champion points. If you're wearing Alkosh, you'll have less resistance. If you want to have more, you can play with your champion points. So this is unbuffed. I'm gonna keep going over my skills. So next we have Dark Deal, which is really nice. It heals you and it gives you back stamina. It has a cast time of 1 second, and when it's casting, you can't really block and you can't like swap bars. So it's a bit, you have to get used to it, and you have to get used to timing it in a fight, but you can still like block and cast. You just have to get used to that little second of where you're not blocking. And obviously if you're getting stunned or something by an enemy and you're not blocking and you're casting it, it's bad. But you get used to it. It's really good. You can get a lot of resources, infinite basically. The reason why that is because we use this Boundless Storm to buff ourselves. So this is always up. It lasts a good bit of time as well, so it's relatively inexpensive. And when you're your healer, who should always be playing with Elemental Drain, basically you have this on at all times, so you're getting magicka back from dealing shock damage. So you can have this up and you can just keep doing Dark Deal basically, because you will keep having magicka. So when I do use this, you'll see fully buffed, I'm sitting at 32.6k resistance. Don't recommend going over that. Between 30 and 33k is fine. So that's for the main bar. I use aggressive horn in raids. Another, I usually have it on both bars because it's usually all I have, but another ultimate that I like is the Absorption Field, which stuns, adds, and heals everyone in the globe. So that's a good one also for a tank. On the back bar, I have Vigor, which I do like quite a bit, especially in trials. In Vet Maglorkaj, it helps the healers quite a bit. I have Bound Armaments again. I use this because I will often help with the execute. It's pretty good. Like, it's not like you're doing a lot of damage, but it's pretty good. when you can help with the execute phase. Other than that, I put this down because this also is shock damage, gives me back magicka from the elemental drain, and it's a synergy, so synergies are good. So I typically have this on. And then we have our rain taunt, inner fire. So main bar is close range taunt, and yeah, inner fire on the back bar, not letting me switch weapons again. So that's it for the basic skills. I'm gonna go over my champion points quickly. So I have, you always want to have 30 champion points in the warrior for your tank, because it increases the armor of your shield. So you always want to have at least, like, usually I do like 10, 10, 10, like 10 thick skin, 10 elemental defender, and 10 into hardy. I have a bit more in each now because I'm not wearing Alkosh, so I don't need to put more into spell shield or heavy armor. But depending on your gear, you can adjust spell shield and heavy armor and play around with these, but make sure you always have at least 30 so you unlock this passive. Other than that, in the green tree, you want at least 75-ish in Shadow Ward to reduce the block cost of blocking. I put 77. Make sure you have enchants on your jewelry to reduce block cost as well. I use 2. I use Warlord because I do in vet trials I do like use vigor quite a bit, and I find that this helps me spam it. And then I use magician, so because I do use a fair bit of magicka and it helps. But you can put more into this one, and you can put more into magician if you find you don't use vigor that much. It doesn't really matter too much because you're gonna see that dark deal is really good, and maybe you don't need as much into warlord yourself. For the blue trees, I put 100 elemental expert. It's a bit of a waste if I'm being honest, but I find in Vetma especially, I like to have a bit more damage potential, so I do put 100, but you could put more into Blast. It's nice to have 120 in Mage, just to restore magicka to everybody. So yeah, you can put more into Blast, less into Elemental Expert. Put some into Thaumaturge because your conduit, as well as your vigor, as well as your buff, is based off damage over time or heal over time. I'm not sure if vigor is benefiting from that, but definitely the other two. So yeah, I put 55 there. But blue tree for a tank is always kind of like, it depends on what you're doing, it depends on your build, so this isn't like totally set in stone or anything. So that's it for the basics of the sorc tanks. I'm just gonna quickly go over more skills that are interesting. I find that if you want to go in a dungeon, use different sets, you can do quite a good bit of damage with using, for example, willpower jewelry instead of endurance. You can use a Molokina piece, get your spell damage up a bit. and you can use Power Surge, which is gonna increase your weapon and spell damage. The crit heal is not that great because you're not gonna crit that much, but it's still a nice little bonus. Other than that, this can be good in a dungeon as well, if you want to be dealing damage. Right now it's not doing much because I don't have any damage gear on. The famous Clan Fear, the Clan Fear can be nice as well. It gives you extra health from, let me show you. So from this passive you get 8% extra health while your pet is on. So it's quite nice. And you can heal yourself with it as well. But I find lately I benefit more from this because I can use Vigor rather than the pet, but you know, you have options. Velocious Curse can be fun too. All of these I don't use Hardened Ward because I don't find that I need it, but it can be a good shield if you need one. Overall, I didn't go over the passives too much because I just want to keep it simple for today, but I went over the pet passive, which is important for the tank, and the ultimate reduce cost is also nice for the tank, but you should still get familiar with your passives as a Sorcerer Tank, so take some time to read them and then you can really play around with your build. So I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, as always, I'm happy to answer them. I'm proud to say that this sorcerer made it, Sorcerer Tank made it on the leaderboard of Vetma and currently got overall rank number 1. So it's a really good tank and I highly recommend that you practice, and it's very rewarding. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.